All right, and we're rolling. Hey, I'm Dead Wolf. Welcome back, everyone. Probably just, 2 or 3 of my viewers are just going to absolutely love this video. Still up here in Linton, North Dakota. And I came across this lot. He's a local dealer that buys and sells, and he has a collection of vintage John Deeres that are just amazing. They're in really nice shape too. What we have here, we got new battery boxes on this one, so this is really nice. It, could use a little bit of body work. We got an old 3010 synchro range transmission. I grew up with that transmission. I also grew up with the power shift that was offered in the 3020. You've seen the 3020 that I grew up with in some of my older videos. Here we have the narrow front end. I never ever operated a narrow front end, except for there's a Model A that was later acquired by the farm that I grew up on, and that had a narrow front end. So that's the only John Deere I've ever really operated with the narrow front end like that. I grew up with just the wide front end. Here we have a row crop front end, probably my favorite model of all time. I grew up with the 4010. This is basically just the next generation of 4010. They then created the 20 series. I spent many hours on quite a few 4020s throughout my career. There was always a 4020 around. They were not a turbocharged. They're not a turbocharged tractor. Some of the very best world class tractors back in the day, the best of the best. I grew up with John Deere. So I'm talking 30, 40, 50 years ago. Those are the tractors I grew up with. And that's the era of John Deere that I grew up with. So I know all of this stuff very well, and it's very near and dear to me. Dear, pun intended. So yeah, that is a 4020. And we have a 4020 power shift here. That's the power shift that I grew up in. This is obviously a factory cab. These tractors weren't really created with the intent of putting a cab on them, but they kind of made deals with companies that would build an add-on cab for specific tractor models. So they would, offer kind of an add-on cab. It wasn't until you get into the 30 series where they were specifically built with a cab, and those cabs were really nice, whereas these were basically just a box to sit in to keep the wind off of you, and they were noisy and kind of uncomfortable, but it was better than no cab at all in a lot of situations. There we are. All right, let's move on. 3010. Like I said right there, probably my favorite model right there, the 4020. Okay, this model right here is very special to me. You've seen it in my video on my home farm. We have a 4520. You will see me raking in the 4520 that I grew up in. And that particular 4520 has one of those add-on cabs that I was just talking about. It's got the intake and the exhaust stack. The 4020 that I grew up on, that you see me operating in my videos. Same heavy adjustable row crop front end. Obviously a synchro range transmission. A little known fact about these old 4520s. They had a factory defective engine. And to the best of my knowledge, John Deere apparently came out with a 4620. And maybe they updated this model and then just called it the 4620. But to the best of my knowledge, the 4520 that I grew up on, has a 4620 engine in it, because a lot of these 4520s were updated to the 4620 engine. It looks like this one has not been, because I do not recognize this intake manifold as different. We definitely have a turbocharger, so these are turbocharged. And what else have we got in there? Do we have, I don't want to be snooping around here too hard. I didn't get permission to be here, but I've been told it's kind of okay to go up here and look, so here we are. So yeah, it looks to be about the same engine, the same style of engine as the 4620 engine that I am told is in our 4520 model. Here we have the old add-on duals. They're not actually factory duals or anything like that. So they put a metal band in there and then just clamp them to the inside wheels, and then it's a dualed up tractor, and that's the style of duals that I grew up with. Later on, they actually came with real life factory duals that they have their own wheel and they go right onto the axle like they're supposed to. That's what we would prefer to have. But you know, it worked well enough back in the day. Okay, here again, another beautiful 4020. Looks like they put some really big wheels on the front of this for whatever reason. You can see this one has been abused and beat up quite badly. And I do talk about things like that in a lot of my videos. It will take me to a very negative and dark place, so I don't want to talk about that kind of stuff. But you can see right there why I'm so passionate about taking care of equipment and teaching everybody how to take care of equipment, and you know, try and get them to do that. Well, enough said about that. Mechanically, it's got real potential there. This could be fixed up very, very nicely. All of this old iron can be just completely rebuilt from the ground up, and you will have a tractor that will probably last, you know, another 100 years if the world keeps turning the way it has. Here we have something I'm not familiar with. I believe my great uncle actually had a 2630 or something similar to this. So I've seen these before. I just have not operated a lot of them. So there you have it. 2630. Yep, I know I've operated one of these in the past somewhere. So I do remember this one. This right here is kind of special to me. When I was a kid at John Deere days at the Eagles Club in Valley City, North Dakota, my name got drawn and I won a toy John Deere tractor. And lo and behold, it just happened to be a little replica model of a 5020, the factory original with the wraparound fenders. Wraparound fenders and kind of operator balcony guard there, you know. Big, heavy front end. These were not a turbocharged engine, believe it or not, but they were a massive, huge engine, and they had a torque curve that was just amazing. And guess what? I ended up, this would have been the farm and ranch that I ended up spending probably most of my years in that field of work as just a farm and ranch hand, and well, actually kind of a cow boss at times. That outfit had a 5020 just like this, and I ground a lot of hay with this exact model of 5020 right here. Believe it or not, I picked a lot of rocks with that 5020. So I got to know this model of tractor personally. I spent a lot of hours on that old 5020. Did some repair and maintenance work on it as well. I believe we have another 40 Another 4020 right here, standard front end, just like on the 4010 that I grew up with. So yeah, the 4010, I don't believe I have that on any of my videos. All right, good news. The owner of the lot showed up. We had a good conversation. I didn't tell him I was videoing or nothing. You know, it's no big deal. I don't know if we made it back to these two yet. We've got obviously a 4020 right here. Like I said, oh, get my hand out of the way there. Like I said earlier, 4020, one of my favorite models. I can only guess. I'm like 99% sure. A six-cylinder diesel, no question about it. There's your injector, pump your injectors. 3-point hitch, dead giveaway. Doesn't have it. It's not set up right now, but obviously could be set up with 2 hydraulics. The 4020s that I ran, they had 2 hydraulic selective control hydraulic controls on them. Okay. Here we have the beautiful 3020 set up really wide for like row crops. The 3020 4-cylinder diesel. Most of them with power shift. This one's got a power shift. This is a very nice 3020, very nice shape. Now, like I said, I just got done visiting with the owner of all of these beauties sitting out here. He really does go for the collectible stuff. So the stuff that's in really nice shape. Going price on stuff like this right now. Basically $17,000 as they sit. Something that looks that nice, and if they're really mechanically sound, $17,000 on up. Okay, that doesn't surprise me. That sounds about right. Here we have an Oliver. Now, my cowboy mentor, my horseman slash cowboy mentor from decades ago on his horse ranch that he owned, that was his tractor, basically, an Oliver. I don't know if it was this specific model. These are pretty rare nowadays. So I know I have driven this tractor just a tiny bit, this model of Oliver. So there it is, we got an Oliver. Yet another 3020, this one with the synchro range. How can I tell? I haven't even looked at the shifter yet. You see that long clutch pedal? That's a synchro range transmission, just because of the, what did I tell you? That's the synchro range, 8-speed. 4 ranges, and then a low and a high in each range. Hooked up to a nice little gravity wagon there. I'm not going to leave out all of you you international guys out there. I've driven a lot of internationals, and I found that I could get along with them very well and even learn to like them. Very different from running a John Deere, but a good brand of farm equipment. International makes some of the favorite trucks that I drive. Some of my favorite trucks for trucking have been International, so we're not going to leave them out. Little old 4255. I never ran a lot of, I don't believe I ever ran any 55 series. Maybe. I just don't remember it. Like I tell you all, I've been been around for a lot of decades doing this stuff. I've probably seen one before. But no, I don't remember running too many 55s. But yeah, this would be like next generation 4240. Then they went to the 50 and the 55 and whatnot. So pretty much maybe a 1990s version of the 4240 that I have, that is now owned by the farm that I grew up on. Also has a 4240. You see it in all of my baling videos. I'm operating the 4240. So there you are. Had to take a walk around. I'm really happy I got to do this today. It's so worth it. Must have spent an hour here already. And once again, the old classic 4520 that I grew up with. You can see it's just kind of, it's almost like a 50, the little brother of the 5020. You can just see that 5020 bulk and muscle in these 4520s. You can almost see the heaviness, the width, the bulk. It just screams muscle, but considerably less than the 5020. You can skip back on the video if you want. When you do a walk around on the 5020, it's just a little bit more massive and heavy. And yeah, when you're driving them things, they just feel like a battleship. They just kind of float. They're so heavy. That's just a massive two-wheel drive tractor. And yeah, looking back on it now, like last summer I raked some hay with our 4020 or 4520. I raked a little hay, did all kinds of stuff with it, and they're amazingly nimble and very versatile for that kind of thing. So there you have it. So I'm going to finish up with this 4020, just a beautiful 4020, just amazing. This is the one that is sold for like $17,000. It is sold for $17,000. Okay, there's the hydraulics that I'm talking about. The nice late model 4020s, they have at least two. That's called a selective control hydraulic. You've seen me use that in all of my videos, where we have a hydraulic cylinder, lifting up a mower or a rake or opening the end gate on the baler, all that kind of stuff. There we got the PTO swaps out with a 1000, so you're able to swap that out. And then that you can change from 540 to 1000 on the PTO there. So yeah. All right. I think that's let's close it off with these my three favorites right here, the 4020, nice 3010 right there, 4520. All right, I'm Dead Wolf. I'll see you soon on the next one. We'll definitely have this kind of fun. This was just amazing. I loved just walking around here. It's the stuff that I grew up running. Thanks for being there, everyone. Thanks for watching.